As the golden light of evening fell across Vatican City, a calm yet powerful shift was taking place. The entire world watched with hope and wonder. All eyes turned to the Sistine Chapel, where the most sacred ritual in the Catholic Church was underway, the Papal Conclave. Inside the chapel's walls, cloaked in silence and tradition, the cardinals gathered in prayer and reflection, each of them carrying the weight of a decision that would shape the future of over 1 billion Catholics. Worldwide, they were not just selecting a leader. They were choosing a spiritual father, a guide, a symbol of unity and faith. As the ballots were cast, the chapel filled with a heavy silence. The scent of incense lingered in the air, blending with centuries of prayers and hope. One vote after another, the future drew closer. Then came the moment that millions had been waiting for. White smoke rose from the chimney above the Sistine Chapel. A wave of emotion swept over the crowd in St. Peter's Square. Cheers rang out, tears were shed, hands were clasped in prayer. The bells of St. Peter's Basilica echoed through the city. The message was clear: Habemus papam. We have a pope. And then a name was spoken, a name that sent a ripple of surprise and awe through the crowd. Luis Antonio Tagle, a humble cardinal from the Philippines, a man known for his kindness, compassion, and tireless service to the poor. He stepped onto the balcony, greeted by a sea of faces filled with joy, curiosity, and anticipation. The world had just met Pope Louis V, the first Asian pope in the history of the Catholic Church. This was more than a religious event. It was a turning point, a new chapter, a symbol of change and inclusion. For centuries, the papacy had been rooted in Europe, but now the Church was looking outward, reaching toward the global south, where faith burns strong and hope remains alive in every village, every city, every heart. Pope Louis XIII was not just a leader from Asia. He was a reflection of the world's diversity, a symbol that the Church truly belongs to all. Luis Antonio Tagle's journey began in the busy streets of Manila. Born into a deeply religious Catholic family, he was raised with values of love, humility, and service. From a young age, he showed a deep connection to his faith. He often helped in his local church, participating in community work and caring for those in need. His early life was simple, grounded, and full of compassion. Those who knew him say he was always listening, always smiling, always helping. He excelled in his studies, particularly in theology and pastoral care. But it wasn't only his academic achievements that shaped him. It was the people he met, the suffering he witnessed, and the call he felt deep in his heart to serve. His path led him from the streets of Manila to the halls of the Vatican, but he never forgot his roots. His humility remained, and his commitment to justice and kindness only grew stronger. As he took his place as Pope Louis XIII, people across the world celebrated. In the Philippines, the joy was overwhelming. Streets filled with music, flags, dancing, and prayer. For Filipino Catholics, it was more than pride, it was a dream come true. Their own son had become the spiritual leader of the Catholic Church. A symbol of hope had risen, not just for the Philippines, but for the entire world. Pope Louis XIV quickly made it clear what kind of pope he would be. He spoke of a church that listens, that embraces, that walks with the people. His first messages were filled with love, unity, and a call to care for one another. He emphasized the importance of compassion, justice, and care for the poor. He called on the Church to protect the planet, to work for peace, and to become a family where everyone feels welcome. His vision for the Church was both bold and gentle. He saw a church that includes everyone, especially those who have felt left out or forgotten. He believed in listening to the voices of the young, the old, the rich, the poor, the strong, and the vulnerable. He wanted the Church to be a mirror of God's love, a place where mercy, forgiveness, and hope are always present. This was a powerful shift. For too long, many people felt that the Church had become distant, focused more on rules than relationships. But Pope Louis I brought a new spirit. He reminded everyone that the heart of the Church is love, that faith is not about power, but about service, that every human being deserves dignity, respect, and kindness. World leaders took notice. From different faiths and backgrounds, they welcomed Pope Louis I with open arms. His message of peace and unity reached beyond Catholic walls. He became a symbol of hope in a time filled with conflict, fear, and division. His gentle strength inspired people of all religions to come together and find common ground. As Pope Louis I continued his journey, he brought fresh energy to the Church. He made space for open conversations, encouraged understanding between different faiths, and worked hard to address real problems. He spoke out about climate change, urging the world to take care of the earth as a sacred gift. His teachings reminded people that creation is not just a resource, but a home that must be loved and protected. He also focused on social justice, speaking up for the poor, the migrants, and the oppressed. He reminded the Church that Christ walked with the forgotten and that the Church must do the same. He encouraged Catholics to take action in their communities, to be lights in the darkness, and to never lose hope. Pope Louis I's leadership brought real change. He opened doors that had long been closed. He encouraged compassion over judgment, dialogue over division, and healing over hatred. His papacy reminded the world that the Church can be both ancient and new, rooted in tradition, but open to the future. The challenges he faced were not small. The world was in turmoil, political tensions, economic hardship, social unrest, and spiritual confusion marked the times. But Pope Louis I faced these challenges with grace and courage. He didn't claim to have all the answers. Instead, he pointed people back to love, to faith, and to the power of community. He led with gentleness, but also with strength. He called out injustice wherever he saw it. He reminded the Church to care for the outcast, to listen to the unheard, and to remember the mission of Christ, to serve, to heal, and to bring light. Looking back at his early life, it is clear that Pope Louis I's journey was guided by more than personal ambition. It was a calling. Every experience, every lesson, every hardship prepared him for this role. The wisdom of his mentors, the support of his community, and the faith that lived in his heart formed the foundation of his papacy. From the moment he said yes to God's call, his life was never the same. And now, the Church will never be the same either. His story is not just about one man. It is about a movement of hope, a return to the heart of faith, and a reminder that love is the strongest force in the world. Today, the legacy of Pope Louis I continues to grow. His words echo in churches, schools, homes, and hearts around the world. His message is simple but powerful. Love one another, care for the earth, stand with the poor, be kind, forgive, include, serve. These are the seeds he is planting, and they are beginning to grow. The Church under his leadership is becoming more alive, more welcoming, and more connected to the everyday lives of people. Faith is not just something for Sundays. It is something to be lived every day, in every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, and every step toward justice. As we look to the future, the influence of Pope Louis I shines bright. He has shown what it means to lead with humility, to serve with love, and to walk with faith. His story will be told for generations, not because he held power, but because he held hearts. He brought comfort in a world of confusion, unity in a time of division, and hope in moments of despair. The world continues to watch, to learn, and to be inspired. Pope Louis III's journey reminds us that leadership is not about being above others, but about walking beside them. His life is a living gospel, a message of mercy, justice, and love. In every prayer whispered in the corners of the world, in every act of kindness inspired by his example, his legacy lives on. And so, the Church moves forward, not with fear, but with faith, guided by a Pope who sees the world not through the lens of politics or power, but through the eyes of Christ. Pope Louis III is more than a name. He is a light in the darkness, a voice for the voiceless, and a shepherd for a global flock. This is the story of Pope Louis I, a man of the people, a servant of God, a beacon of hope in a world that longs for peace. His papacy marks not just a new chapter for the Church, but a new beginning for humanity. As he continues his mission, may his words and actions continue to inspire a better, more compassionate world.